Bonny, I've been given a few questions to get us going, but I think we can go off piste a bit as well as the conversation rolls. But I think the opening question is, obviously you are heading up one of the great kind of events in event land. It's up there as one of the landmarks that everybody looks towards and looks at as one of the most exciting and innovative. So it's a lot of responsibility, but it also must be a lot of fun as well. So the first question is, what do you enjoy most about your job? What is the most fun thing that happens at work for you?
Yeah, first, just to comment on what you said, yeah, I still find it hard to believe that I'm doing this role still after doing it for 6 years. I still, it's still like a dream to me sometimes. And I'm putting last year aside for a second, but in all honesty, I mean, what I enjoy most about leading Cisco Live in EMEA, I think I can relate it to a couple of things. First of all, the entire process, starting every year from scratch, but not really from scratch because we take all the history we have from previous years, but every year we try to do something different. So there are some key elements that remain the same, but there's a lot of innovation and changes that is happening year after year. And we do it not just for the sake of changing, but we realize that if you keep offering exactly the same thing to your audience, to your followers, they will stop follow you. And so we innovate a lot every year. And so this innovation, new ideas, activation that we come up with, and I say we, it's not me, it's the team with the agency, with in this case GPJ UK that we work with. We come up with lots of amazing ideas. We try out some of them. We succeed with most of them. And this sheer joy of seeing how we can surprise our customers and give them more than what they actually expect from an event, that gives me this pleasure and enjoyment. And I think for me, most importantly, it's about the people. If you would see me, and I hope we get to do physical Cisco Live in the future in EMEA, and hopefully you get to visit one. If you could, then you would see that I'm spending most of my time at the event just walking around, and not walking because of spying or just making sure that things are working. It's mainly to meet everyone, and I'm trying to remember everyone's names, whether it's the Cisco speakers, and we have hundreds of them, whether it's the event agency, GPJ employees. I know most of them by name. And for me, this week is the big celebration because we worked so hard for like 51 weeks, and then we all come together to deliver an amazing event. Yeah, and there's also one other thing that I forgot to mention. The impact that we have on the attendees, but at the same time on the Cisco business, because this event has a huge impact on the bottom line for Cisco, and it's a great feeling to see that we are really making a difference here.
Yeah, and I think I know because I've seen you present at ICE as well, actually, or on the ICE website. Is that NPS scores are very important to you guys, and you are very close to your kind of customer feedback, and that is a big part of your review process. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about how you do that and what that feeds into?
Sure. So again, all events have surveys. We've been doing surveys for many years. But from my perspective, if we do a survey but we ignore the results, then let's not do the survey. Okay, so and we're still doing quite a lot of surveys. So there's a survey for each session, and there's an end of conference survey, which is very lengthy with more than 20 questions. But if we find ourselves post-event having so much data on Excel as raw data, but we do nothing with the results, then my recommendation is let's drop those questions that we ignore. What we focus mostly on is actually not just the numbers. So Net Promoter Score, NPS, is an important one for us. We measure the customer loyalty and the impact of the event, but these are just numbers. And we know that with surveys, people would fill up numbers. Obviously, if we get a good overall experience, then probably they didn't score us 5 just to put 5. But to me, what I'm looking more is for the free form, the free text. And interestingly enough, in EMEA, compared to our Cisco Live events in APGC and Americas, in EMEA, we get a much higher rate of people to complete the survey and to provide written feedback.
Yeah.
And this written feedback, I find myself and my team spending quite a lot of time post-event reading the feedback and trying to put some sense into all of that and get the sense of what did they really feel, how did we make them feel as a result of the event. So when I look at the outcome, it's not just that we got, for example, the last event that we did physically in January 2020 in Barcelona, the overall event score was 4.69, which was the highest ever out of 5 that we've had. it's more about the emotions that we've been able to provoke. People were saying, I feel more Cisco now. This is like the Burning Man for nerds, for the network engineers. It gives me great pride to be a network engineer because of Cisco Live. So those things that you can't really measure, but you can hear from them, that gives us like the recognition or the approval that we're doing the right thing.
This is a really important question because I know one of the kind of founding kind of principles of the ICE community is how do we get the events discipline, the marketing discipline, to be better recognized and better understood. And I think this question is kind of about career advice, and obviously you've risen through the ranks of Cisco and you're now running this great event. But what career advice would you give to somebody starting out in events or in the middle kind of place of kind of an event career, and how to get to the top?
Yeah. So I'm not sure I'm the best person to give an advice. I will definitely give, I mean, the career advice that I've been given, because my career was slightly very different from the usual. I don't know if there's a usual or normal career when it comes to events, but I never thought I would end up running events, and definitely not Cisco Live. I've studied electricity engineering. I worked at Cisco for many years. I actually just celebrated 17 years at Cisco. But I would quote a couple of things, not exactly career advices, but more phrases that I've heard, some from people and some that I just picked from key speakers or keynote speakers, or even people that passed away a long time ago. So one is, it's what you do in the dark that puts you in the light. And that's actually an advertisement from Under Armour with Michael Phelps swimming in the dark. Because with events, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, people would see this 1 week or a few days that you do the event, but you put on so much work into that. And I remember when I hesitated, or when I thought about this opportunity that I had to move from a business development role to the events team and lead the content program for Cisco Live back in 2012, it was, a lot of my friends or colleagues told me, are you crazy? Are you moving from a business development sales role to events? There's nothing there. What would you do there? And I made the move, and I never looked back, and I definitely don't regret it, right? But it's there's a lot of stuff that people simply don't realize how much work and how much great stuff is there when you put on an event, right? People think, okay, you just contract a venue and you put some food on the table and that's it. So there's much more into that, but it's
Yeah.
you know about it, others don't. And the other piece of advice that relates to that, and that was actually a phrase from Harry Truman, so a long time ago, and he was saying, and that I find really relevant, maybe unfortunately relevant, but it is relevant. It is amazing how much you can accomplish if you don't care who gets the credit.
Nice.
I mean, we're all like, especially with events. I mean, we're especially event planners. Okay, we prepare the event. We work so hard on that. At the end of the day, we're not at the front. It's the speakers. So in our case, it's the Cisco executives and all the engineers that are speaking. Right, they're at the front. They're standing on the stage presenting. But I always feel like I'm also an actor, and when the show ends, when the event ends, I'm still standing on the stage waiting for the applauses to come. I'm waiting for people to applaud me and my team for a great event. And sometimes I would get frustrated if I don't get enough of those applauses. Another quote that I just heard lately, and that relates to the COVID situation and challenges and issues that you have, and it happens in events and in life in general, but specifically in events, the things can go wrong. And they say you can choose if something bad is happening or something catastrophic is happening, you can choose to be bitter or to be better. And I kind of like this one because it's very simple. Maybe it might sound silly, but yeah, you have a choice, right? You can be bitter about it and get upset and get angry, or you can choose to actually be better and fix it somehow or find a way to do it better. And the last piece of advice, and that's something that I got from my direct manager, who actually brought me to this amazing world of events and gave me the opportunity, is, when something that you're very passionate about, when someone is telling you something, or you get an email from someone else that really makes you want to stand up and punch that person in the face, don't reply immediately to the email. Wait 24 hours. Now, I know that if it's happening in an event, you don't have 24 hours to change. But in general, I'm talking about when you plan an event, you have a lot of relationship building and stuff that you need to work on. Don't reply immediately, especially if you're very passionate and nervous about something. Let it sink relax, then you clear your mind, you have some time, and then you will definitely, maybe you will not release all the steam that you have inside, but the outcome will be much better.
You just mentioned leadership there, and I think one of our kind of questions was looking at kind of what makes great leaders generally and what makes great leaders of event teams. What would you kind of reflect on that? How do you see that?
I think a good leader, first and foremost, needs to support his team and stand by them unconditionally, no matter what they did, even if they did bad, even if they did wrong. He needs to stand behind them and support them 100%, no questions asked. He should definitely not do any micromanagement, but rather do macromanage, allow the team for a lot of freedom, can give some directions, but then leave each and every team member to do whatever they think is the right thing to do. And then, cross correct where needed, welcome ideas, feedback from all the team members. For example, in our team, there's this democracy when on some areas, let's say the closing act. So we have a party and we need to choose a band for the party. We have some budget limitations, of course, but within those limitations, there's a couple of options. And I have some strong opinions many of the times on all kinds of stuff, but if the majority would go for a certain band, then I don't have a veto vote. I mean, it's not that, okay, Bonny said or anything like that. So democracy, I would think, would rule from that perspective. Again, there are some exceptions, of course, but in general, everyone has a vote and everyone contributes to the success of the project. I think a good leader should be comfortable with change and willing to take risks, fail, and learn from it. And I remember when I did it the first year, I tried to really know everything and all the details, and I wanted everyone to come to me with the questions. And I remember one of my team members, she was leading one of the areas of the event. I was on a call with her and the team that he supported. They had a question and she didn't know the answer, and she said, "Oh, this is a Bonny's question," meaning only Bonny can answer it. And at that time, I was flattered. I said, "Hey, great, that's Bonny's questions." I was full of myself. It took me a couple of years to realize that it should be the other way around. There shouldn't be anyone in the team that would say, "Hey, this is a Bonny's question." They should be all empowered to take decisions. And it's fine if they even make a mistake or if they don't know, but definitely not kind of say, "Oh, Bonny needs to make decision, Bonny needs to make decision." So that's a process that I've been going through, and I'm really happy that I've done it.
And a couple of things that you just kind of brought out, I think, Cisco Live, you said right at the top of this conversation is, brand standards are about reinvention, innovation, and surprising and exciting your audience so that they're not getting the same thing from last year or 2 years ago. And I think the question really would be, how do you make sure that you keep the brand fresh, but also for you personally, where do you go to learn new stuff? How do you replenish Bonny's head and Bonny's ideas, and where do you go to do that? What's the best kind of advice you've got for us on that?
I think I think I can do much better than what I'm doing around, but I also first and foremost rely a lot on the people I work with, whether it's my team members, the great team that I have, but also the agency, the event agency we work with, GPJ. I mean, they have some great creative people there, and we allow them, and I think that's what's great about the relationship we have and the way we've been doing Cisco Live for the last few years is that we allow our agency, so we don't limit them. We're saying them, "Hey, this is the budget. This is what we want you to do." No, we come to them and the brief on some areas is very open. So it's like, "Hey, we have an idea. You go out and fly as high as you want. Don't talk to us about budget at the moment. Just come up with some ideas that you have how to make it real, and then we'll discuss that." So we're allowing them to really, I would say, go a little bit crazy, go wild, and come up with amazing ideas. And that's the outcome of I mean, in the last 3 years, actually, we've added a new area to the event experience. So rather than just having session area, keynote area, and exhibition area, we added a whole area which we call the playground or the park, which was basically full of all kinds of activations that are not directly related to Cisco, but they were relevant and meaningful for the audience. And there were all kinds of stuff there. And we've invested roughly 5% of the budget in that area. And you could argue it's not really important. This is nice to have. And indeed, it's nice to have. but it added to the overall experience, and it made a difference between a standard event to Cisco Live. And we actually won a couple of prizes last 2 weeks ago in the Brand Experience Award ceremony for that.
I think we all have just come out of a very interesting year. I'm going to say interesting year for us in the events industry. And I kind of wonder what your thoughts are as you're looking forward. I think some of the good things that have come out of it, it has accelerated kind of digital in the events world. We've had to move to digital because we had no choice. And I think there's kind of good things out of that. But actually, as we are all looking forward to, and I think fingers crossed, looking forward to in-person events again. What are the challenges as you see it? As you're planning the next in-person event, how are you going to take the best of digital? What are your challenges? What are you seeing as you do the kind of the post-COVID first in-person Cisco Live?
Yes. So first of all, my challenge is that to see that we really get to do a physical in-person Cisco Live. We don't know when will this happen. I really hope it will be in 2022 in February in Amsterdam, but that's not a given yet. I think, if I look at it on a micro level with my team, or the way we did Cisco Live, we've always had a digital element to the event for many years because we've broadcasted some of the big keynote sessions. So we had a TV studio on site delivering content throughout the entire week. So to a certain extent, we did, I mean, if we want to call it, we did a hybrid event even before this concept was here and everyone is talking about it now, but to a lower extent because probably 97% of the budget was invested in the physical in-person event and maybe 3% or 5% on the broadcast program. I think the biggest challenge, I mean, and I actually wrote some points for this specific one because I had to think about it a little bit. I think I said it's about recovery. Because, and I'm not talking just about my team because we still stay the same, but if I look at the event agency we work with and many other agencies, I know that a lot of agencies just lost so much business that they had to let go of so many people. So the personnel is changing across the board on almost all agencies. A lot of people have been put on furlough in the UK or just found other jobs. I mean, a lot of those who left actually found new homes. So they're doing great things in other maybe small agencies. So there is an opportunity to do things differently. So recovery, people, there is this recovery phase that needs to happen. Then there's regeneration. Businesses lost and business was lost, and we all need to find new sources of revenue, new project to focus on, and rebuild the industry to a certain extent, right? Or maybe we will see that some of those big event agencies that used to win most of the big projects are now losing it to some smaller agencies that are coming up with from a different point of view with more expertise on the digital side. And what I'm telling my team and others is that, if we focus so much on the digital experience, on the on-site experience, on online experiences, if the online experience is equal to the on-site experience, then why would you need an on-site experience? Why would people travel, right? If I'm sitting at my home desk and having exactly the same experience as if I would have when I was in the event itself physically, then why would I do that? And obviously, I think it's pretty practically impossible to do that, right? I'm a big fan of physical, face-to-face interaction, and I still believe there's room for that, and that it will prevail, and it will still, be the most relevant mean, at least for the meaningful connections. So not just, for example, we do it from Cisco, online events are great for brand awareness. Okay, so you get a huge number of people watching you for maybe a couple of minutes, not too long. They listen to your big ideas, big points maybe. And then you get them to kind of be acquainted. Okay, what is Cisco all about? Great. Okay, it's interesting. Then maybe they will do the next move. But if you really want to advance opportunities, again, I'm talking from a corporate perspective, and to increase the bottom line so that people will actually accelerate closing deals with Cisco, then there's no replacement to face-to-face. And I think that's where we need to focus on and remember that with all this hype about digital, we need and we can and we should be doing this physical element better than ever before. And so we think about how do we define the next Cisco Live, and we said the next physical Cisco Live will be a smaller in-person event, And I said, no, it's going to be smaller, but better. Personal. And even this smaller, why? Because if we are to do an event in February, assuming that by February everyone is vaccinated and the COVID is maybe not long gone history, we will never forget about it, but that assuming we can, like in APJC, like in Australia, for example, the venue that we are doing Cisco Live, it just came back to the team there and said, we are open to do business as usual, 100% capacity. If that happens in the Netherlands or in EMEA, then I would definitely want to focus on the people who are attending. There's no reason not to attend, right? And we will have a digital element, but I definitely, I believe we said we're going to do it. It will be a smaller and better in-person event with a missing word digital program. And this missing word could be enhanced, basic, amazing, what have you, depending on the budget and the focus that you will have.
A lot of us in events, we've come from different kind of backgrounds and journeys to get to where we are. And I wonder whether we, as a kind of, the events kind of channel, are we kicking enough kind of, I'm just going to not use a rude word then, I was going to say backside, in terms of like the marketing mix, just the general marketing mix, and that, I think some of the stuff that you talk about with Cisco Live about how you contribute to, sales conversions, how you really add value to the brand, and you talk very much as a marketer, event marketer, not just an event planner. And I feel like we need to do that better as an industry and stand up and say we're a really brilliant marketing channel. We're not just an event industry over here and marketing is sort of over there. And would that help us? Would that make us more relevant? Would that make us get us a seat at a higher table somewhere?
I think I absolutely agree with you. And interestingly enough, if you ask within Cisco, I mean, we have like a couple of thousand salespeople in EMEA, and most of them know me by name, not because I'm amazing, but because I'm doing Cisco Live. We're doing a good job as a team, and I'm trying to also listen to them and help them, because at the end of the day, we're there to make it easier for them to close deals, right? So I should listen to them and get their feedback as well. And they're one of my customers. And when you ask them, they would say, hey, Cisco Live is vital. It's like one of the most important weeks of the year for me. We cannot reach our quota without Cisco Live. So there's no kind of argument that we have to have a physical Cisco Live, no matter what. But then if you ask them, okay, can you quantify that? They can't. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges, at least for us, because Cisco Live is just one touch point of our customers' interaction with Cisco, because they interact with us 365 days a year. Maybe exaggerating, but it's not just Cisco Live. Obviously, Cisco Live is one of the climax or the combination of that, but it's just 1 week. It's not that everything happens there. So you can't say, hey, we just closed the deal of $10 million with these service providers in Dubai because Cisco Live. It's because Cisco Live and obviously Cisco Live helped it. So we tried for a couple of years to actually put a number of Cisco Live contributed X amount of dollars to the bottom line, but we realized it's not there. And I think that's still what prevents us from really claiming our kind of fair share. I'm not sure if we have to shout and I think we need to continue doing what we're doing, innovate, and let the customer do the talking instead of us. So, for example, if you're not doing Cisco Live, let's see what the customers would say, and then it maybe will make it clear that we have to do.
I've got a final question to wrap up, which is I think a kind of a bit we've touched on a little bit, but it's a nice one to finish on with. Any words of kind of final wisdom out to fellow event professionals about the next year, the next 5 years, how they get on, how do we make sure we stay relevant within our organizations and in the corporations that they're working in?
From my perspective, and I was really lucky, to end up doing what I'm doing. Again, I don't think it's only luck, right? Luck is one part of that. It's a lot of commitment, passion, tenacity, a mix of everything. But it was there because I discovered an area with which I really felt like passionate about in a way that I never felt before. That happened to me because I was working in this IT industry. I liked what I did, but never to the extent of what I'm doing now with events. So, and I don't know if there's a way to do it, but to me, it's about if you find your passion, if you know something that you're really passionate about, assuming it's in the world of events, look for an opportunity to practice it, okay? Not just about your specific role. And it's so evident with my team, for example. We're really trying everyone so that everyone in the team, no matter what the role is, that they will know at least to a certain level what the entire event is all about and
Yes.
what others are doing, so that there's no kind of completely siloed. They're not working in silos. We're all one big team and we support each other. Because then we also benefit from the knowledge and the ideas of others. So when I joined the team, for example, I was responsible for the content program, selecting the speakers, the sessions, what have you. But we ended up we were having those meetings every couple of months, face to face back then, with the team somewhere in the UK, in London, and I found myself very providing ideas or comments on the food, on the party, on things that have nothing to do with the content. But I felt that, you know, it is of interest for me and I wanted the event to succeed. So if you feel it, go for it. Don't be afraid to speak up. It's sometimes people tell me, I got this feedback from one of the event agencies people I worked with, that I'm one of the bravest clients that they worked with, or let's say Cisco or EMEA. And you could say, hey, you're brave. Maybe you're stupid because you don't realize how important this event is, and you're allowing yourself to take a risk that others will not take. I think it's not exactly that, but you have to take risks in order to advance, in order to break through and to offer something new, right?
Yeah.
And to me, the most important thing, I think, is about always put yourself in the shoes or in the head or in the mind of your customer. And your customer could be, if you're an event agency, the customer is like myself, let's say, or my team. If you are an event planner like me, so my customers would be the Cisco salespeople and the attendees of the event, partners and customers. Always put yourself in their shoes. And we've been practicing that for many years, not to a perfection, but we really think, you know, we're planning an event, but the typical event attendee in our case is definitely not the typical event person. I mean, my team, we have actually 50% male or female, but we're not a typical network engineer. We have one person in the team called Remco that is actually more close to a network engineer than anyone else. But when we decide about the bag or the party or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Always think of what they would want, what they would expect, not your personal preference. And I think this has made a significant change in the way, you know, we actually plan for the event. So that's a big advice that I can give.
Excellent advice. No, absolutely. I think walking in our customer shoes, whether that's an internal customer or external customer, is always great advice, isn't it? We all could do more of that, I'm sure. Listen, I just want to thank you for spending 25 minutes there by the time I got onto the network. Really great talking to you, Bonny. Really enjoyed that. I'm sure there's loads of stuff for event professionals to glean from that kind of half an hour, 25 minutes.
Thank you, Christine. It was a pleasure.
Lovely.